Did you consider, so you're the first one that's kind of taking momentum as a
Right.
factor. Did you consider, and I think some of your metrics that you first screened for valuation metrics, and I'm guessing you're looking for stocks that are undervalued.
Correct.
You consider that typically are negatively correlated in the sense that momentum and value, while good together in a portfolio, tell me kind of how you thought about that since you use both of those as a screen.
Well, so first, the fundamental analysis, the primary, that is our primary screening method.
Okay.
So the technical analysis on top of that to see if they have momentum does not necessarily mean we will not choose them if they're below a 50-day, but it just adds to that. So it would be basically the fundamental analysis is the core of the valuation. The moving average is on top of that, saying they have momentum. We don't believe that moving average can dictate whether or not we should buy the stock. We just feel it's a momentum mover. Does that answer you?
Yeah.
I mean, I see your point as most undervalued companies probably aren't going to have momentum, but I mean, if we can find one that's kind of gold, right? So
you're trying to find that intersection of low valuation and a little bit of momentum. Did you
Yes.
consider kind of some momentum, from my understanding, does a good job of predicting maybe 1 year into the future? I think the chart that you showed, it looked like you'd kind of been above the moving average for a while, and I can't see the time on the bottom.
so this is since the beginning of 2015, so past 2 years.
2 years. So momentum typically will do a good job 1 year out, but then once you start, it has a tendency to revert to the mean and kind of like that drop back below the 50-day average. Did you kind of look at it and say, hey, it's been above for a while, and, or you just said, hey, it's got positive momentum, so that's a positive sign for me?
Well, it would basically be a bit of both, so when we see them above, we say it's a good sign, but yeah, we do take that into consideration when they're going to go and revert. We know that they're going to revert, they're not always going to have some linear great performance, right? So that's why this is more of an indicator, not really a driver.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just icing on the cake.
I appreciate that you put momentum in. I mean, nobody else has kind of looked at that metric. You just got to be a little careful with it. 'Cause
Yeah,
It's a tricky one, yeah.
Very
Exactly.
You started with an evaluation of the sector and discussed sort of political and regulatory goings on. How does that influence where you emphasize and de-emphasize your positions, or does it?
In the second part, like the valuation, so
Is there an overriding factor? You're looking at historical metrics and you're thinking, oh, but the structure of managed care may change, so I will avoid that. Or pharmaceutical pricing is likely to be depressed and it's been a nice steady tailwind for the last 5 years, so we might want to de-emphasize those. Is that a factor or is it completely numerical?
Well, no, it is a factor. So basically, what happened with the healthcare reform attempt that was just in house right now? So basically, they attempted to do it, it did not work, and the vote was pulled, right? So during that time period, a lot of these companies were in limbo. A lot of people had hold recommendations, or some people were scared here. They were selling off. But as we saw that it didn't really go through, and we know that the whole complexity of the political climate is really hard to judge. And by it falling through, we feel that they're going to be making amendments that do not completely go to that extreme view that we have currently today.
What extreme view are you talking about?
Well, take for example Centene. Centene was in limbo when Trump was about to reform it. So it was in limbo then, but as soon as it was failed, it went right back up.
Do you know why?
Because of Medicare. They were going to cut
Medicaid. Centene is a Medicaid.
So they were going to cut Medicaid, and they were going to cut that, so they were going to say that was going to have a huge, weight or, albatross on their profits. So we feel that, that failed attempt goes into, they're going to start reforming it to try to make it more amicable to the whole, to everyone else, because that one there did not, as you saw, was not very pleasing to everyone there.
and to touch on that, it's the resistance that really impressed us and impressed the market.
And as far as the possibility of regulation on pharmaceutical pricing, I believe that the fact that we're holding companies like Johnson & Johnson, Merck, Eli Lilly, and Zoetis, very large companies that have a lot of power and have a lot of stability and drugs in research and development and have the ability to acquire smaller companies, we believe that they'll most likely be relatively protected from.
Good luck. I wonder, with Mallinckrodt though, Mallinckrodt would seemingly be, and given the 15% short position, that it would be one that has benefited from some significant pricing, as well as the company that they acquired, I suppose, had a lot of pricing. So it seems like you've almost highlighted, gone to a company that is the, that is a focus of this particular topic. So is that an expression of your views that you don't think it's an issue, or again, is it just numerically it fell out of the model?
Primarily numerically.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Sometimes your job is to find out where the market's wrong, so, because, you know, but you have to consider what everybody else thinks too, so, but just because everybody else thinks one way, don't think that they're all right, right?
You mentioned other metrics like R&D, and I didn't see that developed much in this presentation. It would seem like within pharmaceuticals, there might be some relationship between R&D and future sales. Is that something that was explored more?
So unfortunately, it's kind of strange. Solver, when we optimized our model, actually didn't allocate anything to our 3 R&D metrics. But we still did look at the numbers for those companies, and we also looked at, so we looked at their current R&D projects, so how many drugs that they have in biotech phase 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
As far as, especially if they have a lot of drugs in phase 3, there's a good possibility of,
At least some of them will make it
yeah,
through.
some of them will make it through.
Okay. Where did you get that? Does Bloomberg bring that down?
Yeah, Bloomberg imports that, it's a Bloomberg field.
But it doesn't seem to...
Yeah, so not that many companies have it, unfortunately, it's really only the real big ones that can get that off. Which is part of why
Process is
we
why-
hold the large pharmaceutical companies.
And did you pick you said that you ran your regression and you came up with, you know, like I say, R&D didn't show us any kind of influence on it. You said you didn't pick one, so did you just pick the one that had the highest beta on it that out of the regression model, or kind of how did you select which one that you were going to use?
Which R&D?
No, which, so, and I may have misunderstood you, but
Oh, okay.
it sounded like you run your regression,
Right.
you get your results, then you pick the single factor then to move forward with. Or did you do a multi-factor? Did you continue to use all the factors with the weight, or did you just kind of use one?
So, like I said, we used just linear programming basically, and just had Solver. We just went with what Solver gave us as far as when we were got our weighted average of our ranks and comparing that to what the market values.
So you continue to use all of the factors as you.
The real sector specific, so like for the farm, we still did look at them when making our final decisions, just because, I mean, that's pretty crucial, I think, for the industry.
But they were included at 0 weight in the actual scoring.
Right.
In respect to pharmaceuticals.
But I mean, as far as our own subjective
I see. The
intuition,
secondary.
the secondary, yes, we still looked at.
Okay.
You know, like we said, this is a primary screening model. After that comes in the human touch, where we actually look up these things ourselves. So this is just a directional.
All right. All right.
I'm just curious, where does Gilead score?
Check it.
Because it's this sort of tantalizing, right, it's down the line.
Farm.
You can,
Go ahead and go through that.
It actually didn't rank well in our model, but I don't think that really says a whole lot just because we had a really hard time getting a significant R squared.
oh, that's in the biotech, okay.
Yeah, that was in the biotech. We had a R squared 12%, it was just a really
Yeah, yeah.
tough
So,
industry.
it didn't really explain much of the variance in there.
Yeah.
And momentum might be a negative factor too. Okay, terrific, thank you.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Thanks.